Hello and welcome to PMCLounge.com. Today we are discussing some of the practice questions of procurement management knowledge area. Now, if you're not into videos, if you would rather read these questions and try to answer them, then the first link in the description is going to take you to an article over at our official website pmclounge.com. That article is nothing but a collection of these videos that we are discussing here. So first link, check that out. Also, if you want to know about the concepts of procurement management, then second link is the entire playlist of every single video that we have done on procurement management knowledge area. Also, we received some questions from you which we take up as part of our Lounge Fever series. So that playlist is the third link in the description below, your FAQs on procurement management knowledge area basically. So that's third link. Also, if you're looking for practice questions for other knowledge areas, then fourth link will contain a playlist that is basically a collection of practice questions of all the knowledge areas. So four important links, check them out whenever you feel like. For now, let's get started and try to answer questions of procurement management. Question number one, what is the primary objective of negotiation? So here you are sitting at the negotiation table. What should be on top of your mind? What is the primary objective that you're trying to achieve? Option A, define the exact responsibilities of each party. So you define what each party is supposed to be doing. That's negotiation. Clarify the contract scope. So the contract that needs to be signed, what should be the scope of work for that contract? You clarify that. That is option B. Option C is get the best deal possible. You are doing negotiations. Get the best deal possible. Should that be your primary objective? And option D, find a win-win proposition for both parties. So you're thinking about the other party as well and trying to find a win-win proposition. What do you think should be your primary objective? Remember, all of these are good objectives actually for a negotiation, but what should be the primary objective? What do you think? The correct answer to this question is find a win-win proposition for both parties. Now, this could be a bit counterintuitive for some of you who think that whenever you're negotiating, your objective should be to get the best deal possible. Well, if you're getting the best deal and the situation is such that the seller feels like in a loss, this turns out to be a win-loss scenario. Do you think the seller is going to give their 100% if they feel they are already in a loss as part of this contract or as part of this negotiation? Of course not, right? So the primary objective of negotiation should always be to find a win-win proposition so that both parties are taken care of. Question number two, you are the project manager of a construction project. Congratulations on that. You are inviting requests for proposal from eligible vendors. While going over the list of these eligible vendors, you realize that one of the names in the list is a good friend of yours. So you found a good friend of yours listed as one of the eligible vendors for your project. You know he is excellent at what he does and he will be the perfect match for your project. So what else are you waiting for? You know someone, you know one of the vendors in the list, you know him and he is your best friend, a good friend. That's what the question says. So he is a good friend. He is excellent at his work and he's going to be a perfect match for your project. You are the project manager. What should you do next? A, disassociate from the bidding process and inform your sponsor about the situation. B, award him the contract since you know he is perfect match for your project. So you already know that he is excellent at his job and he's the perfect match, right? And you will have a good frequency with him since he's your good friend. So you should award him the contract. Option C, give him some inputs off the record on how your organization awards contracts. So this is also a good option, right? You can give him some inputs, you can give him some advices on how the organization basically awards contracts so that he can follow your advice and possibly he can get the contract awarded to him because you know he is excellent. You already know he will be the perfect match for the project. So that's also an option that you have. And option D is do not contact your friend and continue with the procurement process. So you ignore your friend basically and you continue with the procurement process. What do you think is the right option here? So this question is not just about procurement. This is also about ethics. And that is why the right answer to this question is disassociate from the bidding process and inform your sponsor that you are disassociating yourself from the bidding process because one of the eligible vendors is a friend of yours. This is going to be a conflict of interest situation if you proceed. So that is why right answer is option number A or option A. There is no number when we say A, B, C, D. All right, let's move on. Question number 3, you are dealing with a cost plus incentive fee CPIF contract. Remember, we have covered all these contracts. Second link in the description for the playlist if you're wondering what CPIF is. So you're dealing with a CPIF contract. The estimated cost of contract is 150,000 US dollars with a predetermined fee of 30,000 US dollars. So this is cost plus incentive fee. The fee is 30,000 US dollars. The cost of the contract, the cost of the entire job is 150,000 US dollars. Let's move on. The share ratio of buyer to seller is 70 is to 30. That means 70 goes to the buyer, 30 goes to the seller. The ratio, also known as the share ratio. Once the project is complete, the actual cost of the project comes out to be 120,000 US dollars. How much savings did the seller make? Also, how much did he make as incentive? So two things, what were the savings, and number two, what was the incentive that he was able to make? Because remember, this is cost plus incentive fee. Option A, 55K and 30K. Option B, 32K, 27K. Option C, 30K, 9K. And option D, 15K and 3K. All right, so what do you think here? What's happening here? A lot of numbers and could be a bit confusing for some of you. And before you jump the gun and try to apply PTA formula, the point of total assumption formula, let me tell you, this question is not about point of total assumption. It is basically asking you how much savings did the seller make and how much did he make as incentive. So the estimated cost of the contract was 150,000 US dollars, right? And the project was completed at the cost of 120,000 US dollars. So these are the two numbers that you need to understand what was the savings that was made as part of the project. 150,000 was the budget, 120,000 was the actual cost. That means 30,000 US dollars was the savings. Now that the seller has made these savings, how can these savings be divided? This is where the share ratio comes into the picture. The share ratio here is 70 is to 30. That means out of this 30,000, 70% will go to the buyer and 30% will go to the seller. So 30% of 30,000 is 9,000 US dollars. So 30,000 and 9,000 US dollars, that's the right answer for this question. I hope it was clear. You can go back to the video, go back to, let's say, a minute or two in this video and try to understand it again if this is not clear to you. Question number 4, you have awarded the contract to a seller. So you've already awarded the contract to the seller. However, it was only later that you realized that you have missed a clause for any project delay. So what happens if there's any project delay? You have missed that clause in the contract. So you would now want to modify the contract. What is the right way to proceed? You now want to modify the contract, but remember, you have already awarded the contract. Now you want to add a clause for delays in the project. So what do? Option A, contract is legally binding, so cannot be modified once awarded. Contract, remember, is a formal document. It is legally binding. Whatever that's written in the contract has to be followed. It has legal binding to it. That means you're legally bound to follow what's written in the contract and has been signed on. Make use of contract change control system. This is option B. Option C, inform the seller about this change through a formal written communication. And option D, casually bring up the change with the seller after a meeting and observe his reaction, which is also a good way forward, right? Or wrong? What do you think? After your meeting, you just casually catch up with the seller and say, hey, dude, we actually forgot adding a project delay clause in the contract. What do you think should we do? And you can then observe his reaction. What do you think? Is that the correct answer? Absolutely not. The correct answer is make use of contract change control system. We did a video on this as well. So playlists in the description if you're looking for that. So there is a contract change control system which can be brought into use whenever you want to make any changes to a contract that has been signed. Question number 5. You are the project manager of a website development project. Now there is a requirement of payment API integration for your website. This is a one-time activity and you figure out that it will be easier to contract this work out rather than hire a couple of engineers for in-house development. So you decide to outsource this work to a third-party vendor. What tool did you use here? So you are basically the project manager. You are responsible to create a website. You need a payment API integration. You realize that it's best to get this done from a third party vendor rather than hire engineers and do it in-house. Some of the reasons for that is this is basically a one-time activity. That means even if you hire two engineers, a couple of engineers and get this done, what will the job of those couple of engineers be after the API is created, right? After the API is developed. So what tool did you use here? Did you do a bidder conference to come up with this? Did you do a make or buy analysis? Did you do a time and materials contract? Or did you do source selection criteria? For those of you that have seen our videos on all these topics, you already know the correct answer is make or buy analysis. That's what you did. You did an analysis of what it takes to make it in-house. It takes a couple of engineers that you need to hire if you want to make it in-house, but this is a one-time activity and it is best to contract it out so that once the contract is done, you're done with the seller and you have the payment API with you as well. So those were some of the questions that I wanted to take up as part of procurement management knowledge area. I hope you got value out of this video. Smash that like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified whenever we upload such helpful videos in the future. Also, don't forget to check out the website pmclounge.com, your number one free PMP resource.